What? Hi, welcome to Yolo-Games. My name is Heiko Möller.
My name's Ben Maddox. New moustache.
It's true. Last time you didn't have that.
I'm playing Einstein in a play, people. Come to the English Theatre in Berlin in November. See me play Einstein.
Einstein had a moustache.
He did have a moustache, yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Literally every picture of him, he had a moustache.
Ah, okay. Okay, cool. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to the past. We take throw a look. That's a German expression. We take a look at the past. So, at the 10 games we were most excited about. And we did or didn't play.
Didn't in my case. Literally didn't play.
Please explain.
Okay, so basically I went to Essen with the purpose of playing games, trying games, buying games.
Yes.
Now the buying games, I succeeded. I was pretty successful in the buying of games and spending of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't so successful in the actual playing of games. Now, don't get me wrong, I was very good in the drinking of beer aspect of the convention too. But the playing of games, not so great. So most of the games on my top 10 I didn't get to play. And the games that I did, I played actually after the convention for the most part.
That's fine. All right. I couldn't play some of the games too, so we just go through the list. So, but you did go through all the different beer.
Most of the beer options, didn't get onto the cider.
Did you? Because at some point people were raving about banana beer.
Wells banana bread beer is astonishing. It tastes like banana bread. It shouldn't work, but it's amazing.
Okay, so I heard. Awesome. So yeah. So why don't we just jump in? I'll start.
Yeah.
Is that fine? Okay. So on number 10, I was most excited about One Night Revolution. That is a game in which they tried to mash up One Night Ultimate Werewolf and the Resistance, and I think they didn't really succeed. The game was much more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
You were sitting next to it.
I sat next to them. I sort of dropped in halfway through the game.
Yeah.
To be honest, before Essen, I could have told you it was going to be rubbish.
Okay.
But
okay. Yeah, it was pretty horrible. I don't know why. Maybe it was at the end of the first day we were playing the game. He was explaining it, and so there's nothing left of Resistance.
okay.
There's just One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which is an awesome game, but it is already awesome. So we don't need another, and this isn't particularly good, because what they did is they divided your allegiance with your role.
Okay.
And maybe in theory that's fun, but in actual gameplay it's just complicated, and also it doesn't really make thematic sense. And all the actions are like things like, if you're the signaler, you tap your neighbor on the shoulder, but he doesn't know if you're like on his team or on whichever team. He just knows that you're the signaler. I don't know. I found a big discrepancy between the theme and the mechanics.
Well, it seems to me that
the
Resistance and One Night Ultimate Werewolf are alternatives to each other.
Yes.
And I really love the Resistance, especially Resistance Avalon, but sometimes you just don't want to go through the 45 minutes it takes to play, and One Night Ultimate Werewolf does it quicker and more efficient. But I've never thought that One Night Ultimate Werewolf delivers you the quality of experience that the Resistance does. It just offers you a similar experience in the same time, and putting them together seemed pointless to me.
Yeah. Also, like I said, they got rid of all the you don't go on to missions anymore.
Right.
So I don't know. It was a letdown for me.
Okay, so game I played, because I think this year's Essen, I don't know whether you agree with me, this year's Essen seems to be the pirate social deduction Essen. So most of the games that came out were
The pirate social deduction?
you know, so many pirate-themed games, and also lots of social deduction games.
Yes.
And I'm sorry,
You don't like social deduction?
no, I don't mind social deduction games, but you know, when 9 out of every 10 games is a social deduction game, and there's only so much you can do. But I played Monster My Neighbor, which was on my list.
Oh, you did.
Which is a Korean social deduction game in which you're playing cards and you might be the villain. There's one villain and one sort of henchman, and the rest have got to try and work it out. And you've got to work out each other's identities. And it was good. It was fine. It was simple. It was a social deduction game. The nice idea is that you can hand off your role, so you can drop someone in it on the last turn and that sort of thing. You know, it's one of those games that if it had been longer, it would be a complete letdown because, I mean, you can... This is the thing, Take That games should be short. And it could have really ruined it, but it's 10, 15 minutes. It was fine. It was fine, but, you know, nothing special.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing, too many mediocre games, for my opinion, in Essen this year. I don't know. All right, so I had on my list comics, and we did play it at Aris Games, and it was fun. It was fun. It wasn't the storytelling game I was looking for. I'm waiting for it. By the way, I'm still waiting for it. So it wasn't the one.
It's called Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I mean you were sitting there. You got 12 cards with different scenes from comic book. And you were matching a story. That was a nice thing, a nice touch. First, you came up with a title. Someone came up with a title. I can't remember how we did. And then for that title, you came up with a story, which is fine. And
did you call it Ben is the most brilliant person in the world? Comic.
Almost. You were in it. But
nice.
Yeah.
As the romantic lead, I assume.
Exactly. So. But the problem is, I mean, it worked fine. It worked fine, and we had some fun, but it didn't woo me. So the cards are kind of limited. They're very small, also, and they're just I don't know. I guess 120 cards, maybe it's a bit more. But if we play with 6 people and we play 2 rounds, I got the same cards.
Right.
I mean, okay, they were double-sided, but and also, I mean, I guess it was a hard thing to do, but they had to introduce some roles, like the Superman, and then the scientist, and someone else, and they always use the same artwork.
Okay.
So if you got three cards from the scientist, you were very likely to use them every time because it already made up a kind of story. But then it's pretty much the same story every time, and I don't know. It felt a bit restricted, and the point mechanism at the end was pretty good, but with lots of these storytelling games, it felt superfluous.
Yeah.
Because you're just telling a good story.
Well, this is it. The point in a storytelling game, they just seem to be an add-on mostly to make it a game. You know.
Yeah. To placate people who want to play it competitively, but that doesn't work.
I mean, as when we played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and then we spent the entire time arguing because you wanted to play to score the most points, rather than, you know, actually play the game and not the game that I bought, not waste the money that I spent on it. You know, you remove those points, you don't have an issue then, and you can play the game for the experience, not for the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to another game that I didn't get to play, and that's because of the rudeness of the Dutch. And this is a game called Ships, and I was really excited to give this a go because I love Martin Wallace's games, and it was just packed out the whole time. So I think on Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning I said, right, this is it. I'm going to go and I'm just going to stand by a table and I don't care how long it takes. I'm just going to stand there and wait for someone to finish the game, and then I'm going to just hop in and give it a go. So I go there, I stand there. And you know, I'm not the Invisible Man. So I'm standing there, and I'm there for about a good 20-25 minutes. And the people who are demoing the game, they finish their game, then 4 Dutchmen just walk up, sit at the table, look at me right in the eye and say, sorry, there's no room left at the table. They were very lucky to escape without a face full of spit that I drenched up from my lungs. Very lucky indeed. So I didn't get to play ships. Okay.
All right. To be continued. So my number 8, I didn't play. It was Wink, Zwinker, because it wasn't there. They didn't get it from China or whatever. It wasn't the release date. So no Wink for me. Time Bomb was on 7 actually. And somehow Time Bomb is by a Japan brand, right?
Yes.
Yes. And what they do is they sell all their games on Thursday,
Yep.
and then they vanish.
That's right.
So you can. There's basically no way to playtest those games. So yeah, I didn't.
I got some Japan brand games. I've only played one of them, and it's pretty good.
Which one?
Fram Relier.
Oh, cool.
It's a trick-taking game, but it has sort of hidden scoring mechanics. It takes about 15 minutes. It's nice. Give it a go. I recommend.
Okay. I played your copy of Vampire Radar.
And you did at Essen.
Indeed. It was a longish game.
Well, it's very difficult, I noticed, to play games when one person is sat there going, I hate this, 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 incessantly. And there is a guy who came with us who is obviously very exacting about what he thinks of a game. And he did seem to spend the whole weekend going, I hate this, I hate this. So it was kind of hard. We're not going to mention names, are we?
It was actually funny. The game was fun, but I wouldn't say it's the best cat and mouse game I ever.
Well, you don't buy them, the Japan brand games.
No, I know.
You buy them for the hipster value.
Yeah, it's the 8-bit graphics, and what they did with Vampire Radar, they condensed all those cat and mouse games that are out there to its basic core.
Yes.
You couldn't streamline it anymore. Unfortunately, some of the
Soul?
Chrome and Soul did fly out of the window.
Don't listen to it. Fury of Dracula is the most interminable experience I've ever had in my life. Hidden movement games are rubbish. I haven't played Vampire Radar yet, but I can guarantee you it's better than all of those hidden movement games.
Okay, so let me talk about my number 6,
Yeah.
which was Jolly Roger, a game about piracy and mutiny. Arr!
That's very good.
My favorite letter. No, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is. We played this, right? Yeah.
I watched it being played.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't join in.
Ooh. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's super swingy, but super swingy because what happens is, but that you don't care for that too much because there's a captain. There's always one captain and then the first mate, and one of the core mechanics is the first mate always asks the captain if he should punish someone whip someone in the group. And the captain can say yes or no, and usually he says yes.
But of course he does.
And then he can suggest whom to whip, but the first mate has last say in it. And of course he whips someone he despises. So immediately personal feuds start in the game. And that's the core and the fun of the game. Winning becomes secondary, and you just want to get this guy because he whipped you one too many times, and during the mutiny, everyone is allowed to play cards on either side. I mean, once you've decided on which side you're stuck. So people ask for bribes as well. So I've got 3 men behind me. What are you willing to give, right? And so it's constantly bribing and we need to get him. And then, but at some point the tables turn. The table is turned, and then you're suddenly with this other guy together, which was whipping you all the time. And I mean, it goes for 10 rounds, and that might be. Start mutinies every round. You can do one mutiny every round. and people take their times and choosing which side they go on. It takes so long. I suggest you just play it. You use 6 rounds or something.
Yeah.
House rule it.
And is this an experience game in which you come out at the end and whoever won is it's not really important. It's about about playing the game rather than winning the game.
Exactly. I can't even remember who won the 2 or 3 games we played. Usually I can, but not with this one. You don't really care.
No. I'm definitely going to play this next game night, I think.
Oh. All right.
So, let me have a look at my list. I didn't really play very much. Okay, I'm going to go for a game that wasn't on my list, that I was sort of prevaricating over, trying. And because it's long.
What's the name again?
I'll get to that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Because it's long and it's a classic and it's very famous. But I happened to be by the demo table, so I thought, I'll just give it a go. And that's Through the Ages. So I tried the new Through the Ages.
Ooh, that one.
And in my game collection, I don't have a Civ game. Well, I didn't have a Civ game, so that might indicate what I thought of the game. And we did 1 or 2 demo rounds, and it seems really, really good. I mean, really sort of meaty and thinky and long. And I don't have an issue with long games. You need the right crowd. There are certain people I can think of that I wouldn't want to play it with because being in their company, now you'd love it. Yeah. Being in their company for 4 hours would be like Chinese water torture, but the game seems really elegant and really interesting. But I'm very enthusiastic. Ask me why I haven't played this game yet.
Ben, tell me, why haven't you played this game?
Oh, interesting question. Yeah. Well, so it was selling like hotcakes at Essen, obviously. New version Through the Ages, very big thing. And so I bought it, and I handed over the money, and it was great. And when I handed over the money, they said, "Oh, thank you very much." Yeah. And I said, "Thank you very much."
There was a production.
So, and when I get home every evening from Essen, I open my games and have a look because, I'm hopelessly addicted to material things. Yeah. And I opened the thing of Through the Ages. Exactly.
Yeah. The box fart.
And there was a letter in there. Oh, that's nice. There's a letter. So I lifted the letter out and it said, "Congratulations for being one of the few people able to buy a first printing of the new version of Through the Ages. Usually this game contains 2 rule books. In this, there's only 1 because we haven't printed it yet." So they have the reference book, which doesn't include the setup instructions, which doesn't teach you how to play the game. It just has alphabetically referenced rules. So essentially, you can cobble it from the reference rules, but it's really hard work. And I have no issue with this.
Why didn't you check online? I mean, you could have.
Well, yeah. I have no issue with this because, things happen and you need to sell it at Essen because they're going to sell a lot. But the issue I have is that Czech Games didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And there was no signs up explaining this.
Yeah.
And I spoke to one of the representatives of Czech Games and it says on the letter, check on the internet. And I said to him, "Oh, it doesn't matter, I'll check on the internet when I get home." And he said, "Well, it's not up yet." And I said, "What?" He said, "No, we're not done. It's not going to be up for 2 weeks." And I understand that you're going to have production issues, especially with an analog game. And, printing issues can come to the fore. But you need to tell people. And I wasn't told. Yeah. And I don't think it would have affected my purchase.
Do you think so?
No, I think I still would have bought it. But I just would like to have been told.
Wouldn't you have waited? I think that's what most people would have done.
Well, I guess that was their worry, wasn't it? Yeah. That's why they didn't tell anyone, but they should have told people.
Yeah.
So, what's your next one?
All right. Next one was Epic, the game by White Wizard. No?
Yes. Epic the Gathering. Epic the. Sorry.
Yes. Did you play it?
No. Yeah. I really like Star Realms, but I mean, Epic looks like another very famous card game.
It is. It does. Magic the Gathering. It is also the Wizard of the Coast. It's almost a White Wizard of the Coast. So it feels like Magic. You play monsters. You tap them. You play.
You don't tap them.
Yeah.
You exhaust them.
Yeah.
Please don't sue us, wizards.
All right. Whatever. Oh, police. No. So you tap them. You want. Anyway, you play instants and sorceries, and you've got timing issues because this is very important. When which thing will attack, blah blah. Well, that's the thing. I played Magic when I was younger. It was quite a money thing. I lost everything. No, but so I'm.
It's true. He does live in a cardboard box.
What I like about Star Realms is that I can start the game. I'm ready to go. No setup, whatever, and I can build my deck.
Yeah.
With this, it's a pre-built deck.
Right.
So either you take a crappy pre-built deck and then you go, why didn't I build my deck? Or you go through the process of building your deck, but then you spend more time thinking about comboing and building than playing with actual human beings and having fun. And that I don't enjoy anymore, kind of. So, and then I thought, okay, who would be interested in such a game? People who love Magic. Yeah. They love Magic. Why would they play the smaller version? So I thought, okay, people who like Magic and got broke due to playing Magic, they might be interested because you only pay $15 or something and you got the Magic feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
so if you're broke and you like Magic, buy it.
I think what Wizards do, I think they do good games. I think Star Realms is.
That's awesome.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. It's a bit like the McDonald's version of deck builders. You know, it's very sort of by the numbers, but it's fun. There are other deck builders that are better. A few acres of snow, but. You know, it's fine, and Epic feels like that. It feels like a less sort of profound version of Magic. Fine.
Yeah, Magic feels like from the '90s, and that's I don't know. I don't like the feeling anymore. So
I mean, I played Ashes recently. I know this is not an Essen thing, but I played Ashes recently, and it's really good. And you have pre-built decks, and you can deck build and stuff. I've no interest in doing it. I take the pre-built decks and I play them with each other because
you know. Ashes of the Phoenix was that?
Rise of the Phoenix Born. Yeah.
Oh, that's called Ashes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's very good. But anyway, all right. So what else did I play? I didn't play very much. So I played Fog of Love.
Okay.
So I did actually get a demo in a Fog of Love.
Me too.
Okay, what did you think?
I demoed it because you were talking about it, basically. We were there with all guys. We were playing three games, I think, simultaneously. The guy was awfully nice. I thought the game concept was particularly good.
Yes.
Particularly good. The mechanics were pretty intricate, I'd say, because you had to watch different levels. You have to watch your own cards, your own goals. You have to watch what's happening between you, and what your official goals are, if you have any. And how the relationship is developing. So it's pretty complex in that way. Also, I like the questions. You draw crisis cards or something, and you always have to decide on: do I tell him or her or not, or do I talk to my father, or would in this situation you are blah blah blah, and there's some problem arises. How do you react?
Yeah.
And then you have to decide simultaneously, but hidden.
Yeah.
And then you see how if that matches, if you get extra points, or if it doesn't match. So I found everything nice and good, but in the end, for me, it was too many things to keep track of. Too fiddly. Too many. The whole we've got such and such communication levels and such connected. I don't know. It detracted me from.
I think he needs you have sort of 7 or 8 characteristics, and there are tracks, and you go left or right depending on negative or positive. He needs to cut those down to 4.
Were they negative and positive, or were they just different spectrums?
Or it was along the spectrum.
It wasn't negative and positive.
And there was a large problem with terms, and I think this is the problem when you demo at and it was a busy booth, and the guy was running around a lot. When you demo at a convention, you don't have the rule book with you, so you can't really check things, and it would say, right, you have to play cards at this point, but you weren't sure whether you were doing them together or separately, or when you played them, and I think the game is, I think for the design of the game, I think for the sort of marketing and the demographic he's going for, I think it's a little complex.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it tells a lot of good stories, but I'm not sure it's the greatest game in the world. But it's going to have another sort of 5 months of development after Essen.
Or someone will pick up some mechanics of that game and make something awesome out of it. Because especially in the end, you have to decide what you're going for. Are you going for a breakup? And depending on that, you can... you do that hidden as well, and both people can win, both can lose, only you can win. So that mechanic I kind of like.
I think there is the bones of a solid game there, and hopefully in the next 4 months he's going to develop it from feedback that he got at Essen and hopefully make it tighter. I think it's a little unfocused at the moment, I would say. Yeah, it feels like a prototype to me.
Really? Okay. Okay. So, I didn't play Dark Moon at Essen, but I played it actually before Essen, I believe. I was hoping for the same BSG, Battlestar Galactica feeling, tension, scratch, I think Americans say, to scratch that itch.
Yes, that's right. And when I say that, it's because of my dermatitis.
So, but in the end, it was. It felt like an okay game. It didn't give me what I was hoping for. Well, BSG is one of my favorite games, so I was hoping to mid-game or halfway in the game to get this wave of to get hit by this wave of bliss. Sometimes that happens. You play a game and you think, wow, this is fucking amazing. That didn't happen. So it's nice, and it's if you look at it just by itself, it's not a bad game.
I mean, had it have come out before BSG, right? What would you have thought if you could separate the sort of BSG thing from it?
Well,
because it seems to me, from what I've heard, that it's semi-skimmed BSG. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of fine, but it's a bit bland and a bit...
Yeah. And there's certain things, for example, once the person has revealed himself, there's basically no hidden information anymore.
Right.
And that becomes very boring, because then it's just a race to see who makes it. And in BSG, you still have these cards in your hand. You're not entirely sure what comes up, what they have in their hands. So yeah, I didn't like that kind of. So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really interest me, to be honest. I think BSG is fine. I haven't played it for ages. But yeah.
All right.
So Alone was not at the convention, and I spoke to the Horrible Games people, and the only reason I'm mentioning it, because I didn't see it, I didn't demo it, is it sounds really great. And I'm not going to go into the mechanics or anything, but Alone from Horrible Games is a dungeon crawler, except you don't have the what you call it, the mastermind.
It's
the player is alone, and then you have three masterminds plotting against them, which is a really nice idea. And I want to mention it just because, speaking to the guy at Horrible Games, he was really sincere about the game, and he said to me, we want it out for Essen.
It didn't work.
No, he said we want it out for Essen next year. No, but he's not sure, because he's so concentrated on making it as good as possible that he's willing to miss the commercial opportunity of Essen next year to make sure the game is right, which sounds good to me.
Which sounds very good to me.
Because, a lot of people rush out games half-assed with no rulebooks in them and things, to sell them in Essen. So I think I'm looking forward to it. So Alone should be on your radar.
On your vampire radar. Okay. You played. I think you played Mafia de Cuba as well.
I did.
So I don't know what you think about it, but for me, it has a great theme.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is that, like I said, the grabbing into the box. People very quickly get into character, kind of. But what do you think?
I think it's a social deduction game.
One more of those. But I had my hopes were way too high.
These social deduction games all come down to the same thing. There are many iterations of them, but they all come down to the same thing. Who are you? I'm not telling you. Oh, come on. No, I'm not telling you. Okay, who did this? And it's the same game with different rules, and it's
but the rules,
boring.
Yeah, but no. The rules matter, because in Mafia de Cuba, the big change, you were mentioning that in the pre-Essen video, that you thought the grabbing whatever you wanted might be a great change. Role selection, basically. I didn't find that too enticing, because if you're at the end of the line, you don't have a lot of choice. Sometimes you have no choice, and that's if you play with 6 or 5 or 6 people, you often don't have any choice, and that's like super boring. Then you've got one thing. There's the Godfather, and he has a great job because he can talk a lot. He can ask questions and stuff and blah blah blah. He's the focus point, but everyone else, it's not a group discussion.
No,
everyone else has to shut up, otherwise the game doesn't continue. And then and if you can, sometimes you just sit there and you didn't take anything. You're a street urchin or whatever it's called. And you can just say, I didn't do it. And that's it. And you just watch,
because there's no interest in lying if you're that wrong. Why would you lie?
Because there isn't too much interaction between the roles. I think there's just one role with an interaction. That is the driver. He reminds me of the signaler from the thing. He only wins if the person to his right wins. How should he know that's
who they are?
That is pretty. I didn't really get that role, and that's the only role with any interaction. So,
I mean, I played the Resistance. I think a while ago. I played it when I was teaching. I played it with an English group of mine.
You did?
For last day of school thing. You bring your games in for the last day of school, and it just reminded me, having played all of these social deduction games, and some of them are card based, and some of them are tile based, and Mafia de Cuba is sort of prop based, and all of this. I just come back to the Resistance. I think the Resistance is the best of its.
It's the pinnacle. It's perfect because it is so condensed. There's nothing superfluous about it.
Absolutely, and Mafia de Cuba just seems to me, there's no, because you having a godfather figure immediately puts one player at the centre. I mean, what do the rest of them do?
Exactly. All right.
Okay, so we're going on to, let me look at my list. The hotness. So this wasn't on my top 10 list, because I didn't actually realise that it would be there, but I got to play a demo of Scythe. Now, I had to actually go to the morning players booth and reserve a time. You couldn't just rock up, you had to book.
Same thing with 504.
And so I booked an appointment. I sat down and played Scythe. The guy who was explained the rules very quickly, and I didn't really understand what I was doing. But I love Jamie Stegmaier's games, and once I looked like it was Sunday. I had a cold and a stinking hangover, and I barely slept for 4 days. So my brain wasn't functioning fabulously. But once I'd sort of annoyed all the rest of the people sat around the table going, what do I do now? Scythe is really good. It's really good. It's like so the combat is like Kemet, sort of card based with your units, and it has that, but also the sort of building and expanding. It's the closest I've played to a genuine kind of Civ computer game. In that you start at the beginning and you build your empire and you build up. You don't start combat until sort of later on when you start negotiating and things like this, and it feels like that, and you feel that growth.
Is it a Civilization game or?
Well, it's a 4X game.
Oh, it's a 4X game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except the tiles are revealed at the beginning.
I didn't look it up because it was by Stonemaier, and they're usually not producing any games I'm interested in. But okay, cool.
Yeah, no, it's good. Side is really good, and I backed it on Kickstarter.
You did?
I don't have any money. I backed it on Kickstarter.
There's so many other games.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we're going to agree on this one.
I think too. So my number 2 was Codenames, and I've got 2 words for it. Frickin' awesome.
I can back that up.
Codenames is a real crowd pleaser. It's been a long time since I've seen a game that brings such enjoyment to such a variety of people. There's almost, I mean, it doesn't make the biggest splash maybe, but just everyone likes the game. No matter what kind of player or gamer you are, the simplistic mechanics, you can explain the game in 30 seconds, I guess. And also people can drop out, can drop in again.
And what's so amazing is that both roles are cool.
Yeah.
Being a guesser and the clue giver, they're both as enjoyable as each other.
Yes.
And also, I think it even says it in the rule book, because a lot of Gen Con coverage said, this is a thinky party game. And that's an outright lie. That's an outright lie because, someone gives a clue and the opposition team are going, yes, that one. It's got to be fish. It's got to be fish.
Yeah.
And, they're putting off the rest of the team. And you can see the other team who are trying to guess this thing getting physically angry.
Maybe that's just with our group. I don't know.
But this idea that it's this quiet, thinky party game is just not true. It's loud, it's raucous, it's funny. The last time I played it, this guy was very serious and he was like, okay, now we're going to do this properly. And then he gave the worst clue in the world. And it was like, donkey, 7. and literally nothing. Or it could have been everything and nothing at the same time. And it was so funny because he was so serious and focused. Codenames is just design brought down to its crystalline perfection. It is glorious. And it goes across the board, and I haven't met one person who doesn't like it. And if you don't like Codenames, you have no soul. That's a fact.
That's a fact. I think it will stay many years with us. Because somehow some games, like for example Concept, kind of reminds me a little bit of it. The way it fires up your lateral thinking. It just goes down very, very well.
And it's rare that you play a game and the minute you play it you say this is a classic. This is a classic.
Exactly.
And this is Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride sort of level of classic, I think, Codenames.
Okay, you're right.
In terms of longevity, in terms of sales, in terms of being an evergreen game, I think it is, absolutely. And if it doesn't win, there's a lot of talk that it will win the Spiel des Jahres next year.
It probably.
And if it doesn't win the Spiel des Jahres,
then they're wrong.
Simple as.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my final game that I've played. And I didn't play it at Essen, I played it subsequently. And whereas Codenames should win the Spiel des Jahres, this game should win the Spiel des Forever Time. Because it's absolutely astonishing. And all the hype is completely legitimate. And
it's pretty good.
It's a game that leads you by the hand, but but the places it takes you are just so spectacular, and that's Pandemic Legacy. It is so good, and it's really hard to speak about without it's not giving out spoilers is the issue. I just want to tell you all about the spoilers, because the story it tells is so good. It's Pandemic, and some people don't like Pandemic, some people do. I've always thought Pandemic is wonderful.
I on the other hand, I don't like Pandemic at all, but I found a lot of enjoyment in this game. So yeah, if you like Pandemic just a tad, then you should check this.
Yeah,
this is really incredible.
I mean, we've been talking a lot about it, and I think the best way to describe Pandemic Legacy is that it's a box set. It's a box set of a game. So it's like you buy the box set of a TV series.
Oh.
And you watch it through, you might re-watch it, but basically once you've watched it, it's done.
It is very cinematic.
And that's what Pandemic Legacy is. It's like, it says season 1, and it's like a TV season. It is, and it's as gripping as that, and it's as addictive as that, and you binge play it. And I'm playing it with my housemate at the moment, and he has decided that he has to go off and work and earn money. So I'm stuck not being able to play it for 2 weeks while he's off earning money, which I think is very, very rude considering.
Very rude. Sasha?
All of the hype is totally justified. This is the game of the next 10 years. It's amazing.
All right, cool. So my number 1 was Time Stories, and I didn't play the game. There was the opportunity to play it, but I kind of felt that at the Spiel that it wasn't the right place to play a game like that, because you need some quietness.
But they had their own sealed off laboratory that you could sit in there. But
somehow that didn't seem appealing to me. Walking into this booth, it looked like a smoking booth. Or something.
It did.
So I didn't play it, but I will. And
I have a little rant, if I may, about Time Stories.
About Time Stories, okay.
Because I think it's very interesting to put Time Stories next to Pandemic Legacy, because people.
I forgot one thing about Pandemic Legacy that I wanted to say, because that was it's a first time, or what's it called? First timer, primer. Anyway, so in Pandemic Legacy, I was playing with them, and you gave me that one card that was. He gave me a card that I was supposed to rip.
We're not giving anything away. Everyone knows that you have to rip up cards, right?
You have to rip up cards. And it was such a novelty. It was almost I almost couldn't do it, because I have such high respect for board games. No, especially with a shiny game like this, ripping up a card that's like ripping up.
It's incredible. The first time you do it, you feel so transgressive. You feel like, I don't know, if someone wiped their ass with the Bible or something.
Yeah.
It is that kind of thing. It's very.
I mean, I did it, but that was quite an experience, I have to say.
No, so Time Stories. I have an issue with Time Stories, because a lot of people complain about Pandemic Legacy, saying, but once you finish playing it, then it's done. But Pandemic Legacy, you have a maximum possibility of 24 games.
It has
you have a minimum possibility of 12 games, right? Time Stories, you play one module and it's done.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's a maximum, I've heard, of 6 hours for a module, right? And you don't get to play it again. And every other module costs 25-30 euros. That's a lot of money to play through something once. Yeah. And if you get the rules wrong, you just throw money away. And while the game sounds very, very interesting, I think that aspect to it is just not acceptable. The game to have one module. So I bought Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Yes.
And you can only play each case once, right?
But
you get 10 cases.
Okay.
So you're looking at...
It's 10 evenings.
Exactly. Whereas Time Stories is one, maybe two. And that seems, I mean, it seems decadent to me.
Maybe that's the new board game.
Disposable board games.
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
Yeah, but there's a trend. There's definitely a trend.
But and this is the point, you know, Pandemic Legacy lasts a long time, so that's kind of justifiable. But Time Stories, it just seems very expensive.
Okay. I think we're through our list.
Here we are.
So we thought about maybe come up with something else, a little banter. Banter. One thing about how should we do this? Yeah, maybe the worst.
Yeah.
The best, the biggest surprise, and the biggest regret. Are you cheating?
I'm reading this stuff.
So let's start with the worst. What was the worst experience in Essen, 2015?
I guess for me, and it's kind of, I'm kind of ambivalent about it because it's kind of cool too. Is that just so when we arrived?
Yeah.
We arrived Thursday morning and we're walking around and someone, it might have been you, I can't remember, someone said to me, you know, it doesn't seem very busy. And we're like, oh, and I was like, yeah, it seems less busy than last year. And then at midday, my God, I mean, packed, absolutely packed. Thursday and Saturday were crazy, absolutely crazy. And it's this thing of just not being able to get from point A to point B because there's just so many people, and you know, it's in some way it's a good thing because you know lots of people are coming and it's exciting, and I like crowds. I'm energized by crowds. Some people really hate them, but after sort of like the fourth hour, you just sort of walking around thinking, "Well, you should get out of my way, get out of my way." Yeah. And not being able to play games you want to demo because they're always full. That was I guess the worst thing for me.
Okay, I did a little section on the Essen voyage video. It should be out by now. On how to get from point A to B.
Nice.
That's a good thing. Okay, so the worst thing was from Essen 2015 was carrying shit.
I mean, literal shit?
No, carrying stuff around. I was somehow I misjudged how annoying it can be to carry things around. I mean, last year I did it and it was very annoying. And this year I got a huge suitcase. Thanks, by the way, for the suitcase. And but it was a monster suitcase, and I had to drag it, schlep it around.
You did
the whole time. Not only that, all the buying we did before, all the food. That was one of the experiences ever.
I'm not doing it. I'm not going to the supermarket for the weekend food again.
Yeah. He did it without lots of complaining. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I was complaining a lot in my head.
Yeah. Next year we have to shift it around, change something of the schedule around it. But that was the worst experience in that way. The best one. What was the best?
And this is a really rubbishy answer.
Sure.
But kind of like the whole thing.
That's a rubbishy answer.
The last 2 weeks, I've just been thinking, God, I wish I was back at Essen. There's something about it. So I went with my podcast, and I was doing interviews and things there. And that's the Perfect Information podcast, by the way. Get on it. And I was talking to Ignacy Trevicek about this. And it's this thing about board gaming, in that it's just so open. And I think it's a product of there not being much money in it.
Yeah, that should be a part of it.
You know, so the people who are sort of, you know, the arch creators of the industry are just super nice, super approachable. You can just go up to people and you can thank them for, you know, the nights that you've had playing their games, and they're really open and amenable to just spending time with you, and that's such a wonderful thing. I mean, I don't know, I think the closest comparison you can make is sort of video game things, and I assume video games are different in that way, I assume the creators of that, the principal sort of architects of that, are different
Sure.
to that. And gaming, it seems...
Because there's not one game designer, there's
Yeah.
like many, yeah.
And it seems that the consumers and the producers are part of one community, and there's no sort of demarcation between it.
That's true.
And I think that's really pleasant. And the whole thing of Essen, just the people I went with, the people I met there, the people who I'd spoken to on Twitter before and had never seen, and you actually get to see in the flesh for the first time. And so I went to an event, and Matthew Dunstan, the designer of Elysium and Relic Runners, was there. And I happened to have my recorder, and we were chatting, and I said, sorry, can you give us 10 minutes just to do a quick interview? And he was like, yeah, of course, no problem. And that was really, really nice, and he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And yeah, just
It's...
the whole thing.
Okay. I will strike in the same... What's it called? Same...
Vein?
I guess. So...
That is the term.
It is? Okay. It's your language?
Mining. It's mining.
Mining? Oh!
Because when you're mining gold or something, and you have those things that go through rock, it's called a vein. So you're striking the same
He
vein.
knows so many things. It's incredible.
Very clever.
Anyway, so it's the whole experience. No, I mean, it's an adventure every time. It's an adventure. I mean, we went there with many people, and the trip to the place itself where we stayed it's awesome. You haven't seen it before, and this is now our gaming den.
And we had accommodation that was fantastic. We had 3 big rooms, 3 big tables. I mean, it was just perfect. And super cheap.
Yeah.
And anyone watching this who wants to come with us, you better get in quick, because there's not a lot of room.
And during the event, I mean, it's of course the group grows together. You get to know the people you're going
It all
with.
grows apart. I mean, that's also an option.
And also, I did many trades in Essen, math trades. No, not the math trade, but the another trade.
Yeah.
And there was one. That's exemplary.
A good example.
A good example. One guy wrote to me and he asked if I could give him a game, a pretty expensive one, and he would, a couple of weeks later, because he's working at a booth and he gets points, and with those points he can buy games for me then instead, to ship me the games 3 weeks later. And I think in another context, I would have never done this.
Absolutely.
But with board gamings, that's a certain kind of breed.
It's sacrosanct. You don't do that.
Yeah.
If you agree to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
And
so I had no second thought to agree.
Yeah.
I gave him this really expensive game, and I thought, yeah.
Have you got the games yet?
No, but he's sending it now. No. He already wrote me, and it's a really cool guy. So that's and also the easiness. I found everything to be a little bit easier than the last time.
Well, that's because even though there was a massive rail station fire, which meant we had to take different trains
every time,
there wasn't a complete rail strike in which no trains were running like last year. So it was a little bit easier.
That is true. Okay, that was the best thing. What was the biggest surprise for you?
My biggest surprise, because if you compare it to last year, my biggest surprise was Hall 7.
Okay.
Because Hall 7 is the indie hall with the small publishers. And last year they had a little bit of Hall 4.
Yeah.
And it was rubbish last year. And you sort of had like really amateurish stuff, and it wasn't very good, and people didn't go. But this time they had a full hall, Hall 7, and it was excellent.
Yeah.
We had a lot of really great So Fog of Love was in there, and they really pulled out all the stops. Their booth was super cool. Seventh Continent were in there.
Oh, they were.
And then you had games that were actually being sold to from indie developers who were really passionate.
Yeah.
And Hall 7 was really good this year, and I expected it to be rubbish, and it wasn't. It was really excellent. And so if you go to Essen next year, I think Hall 7 will just get bigger and better and really worth going to.
Yep.
Yours?
Wow.
Yours isn't quite as positive, is it?
Not as positive. My biggest surprise was the amount of mediocre games that are produced these days. I kept thinking, wow, this is so much cardboard that people will buy, play once or twice, and then put on their shelves and never play it again. And that kind of surprised me. That there's so much, I don't know, so much. I don't know.
The thing is, it's the same in anything, though, no? And especially now, board games are expanding. More people are getting into it. More people are designing, and so it's like music, right? 90% of music is rubbish. 5% of music is fine, 5% is great.
Yeah.
Films, 90% of films are rubbish, 5% are good, 5% are great.
I wouldn't say.
And it's the same with board games, any sort of art form. You have, the vast majority of things are pretty sort of mediocre, except I think the hit rate in board games is a lot higher.
You think?
I think, there are, I mean, it depends what you like, and there are a lot of standard Euro games, and especially at Essen, because that's kind of the Essen thing. But I mean, I haven't played a game that I got from Essen yet that I didn't think was good. Some, I think I will fall in love with when I eventually get to play Through the Ages, for instance. But I haven't played one that I thought was bad. I thought they were all good.
I found a couple of games that I really loved, like Codenames, and then I want to mention this, Triumph and Tragedy. It's a war game by Jim T.
It is.
It's fucking awesome, but it's a very for a niche client.
Niche, if you pronounce it incorrectly. Niche, if you're British.
For a niche clientele, exactly. So I found my games that I really love, but the broad amount of games I kind of was. There was nothing to write home about.
Yeah. Whereas I think there were a lot of good games that came out, potentially good games, and games that I think that were overshadowed. So Pandemic Legacy, obviously, 504, obviously, they were big things. I think when the dust settled, games like Porta Nigra will rise to the surface because they seem to be very, very good.
All right. So, what are you regretting? What's your biggest regret?
Of Essen or life?
Let's keep it
Essen, yeah, because we don't want to make The Godfather out of this. That I didn't play more is the obvious regret. Because I got there, I don't really play on the Thursday anyway. I go and pick up pre-orders, I walk around, I have a look, and then at about 2 o'clock I think, sod this, I'm going to have a beer. So
every day.
Okay, absolutely. I'm on holiday, for God's sake. But this time I think I played 5 games at the convention.
Okay.
I mean, the evening I played more, of course, but I played 5 games the whole time I was there, which is just not enough for 4 days. And in my defence, part of that was certain games I wanted to play were just full the whole time. Impossible to play.
That's true.
But yeah, next year I'm going to try and play more games and stay sober for longer.
Okay. Actually, my biggest regret that it's over.
It goes very quickly.
It goes very
quickly.
I thought, even though I didn't love every game, I loved the whole experience.
Yeah.
So if it would be in 2 weeks from now, I'd go again.
Absolutely.
So just knowing that it's another year, fuck man, it's a long time.
It is a long time.
But that's what life is. So that's my biggest regret. Yeah, that's already all over.
Yeah.
All over now.
But you can't halt the march of time.
Right.
Unless you're Marty McFly or something. Current affairs.
Okay, so
Is that us?
I think that is us.
We've been waffling for a long time.
Indeed. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed some of it. And see you next time.
And go to Yolo-Games.
Go to Yolo-Games.
And listen to the Perfect Information podcast. It's good.
Bye.